Welcome to the Lazy Agent Podcast. My name is Tommy Muchler, your lazy agent. And today we're going to be talking about the top 10 best ways to generate real estate leads in 2024. And we're going to be ranking them worst to best and going through them. Now, for those of you that don't know, my name is Tommy Muchler. Obviously, I just said that. And I've been a realtor and managing broker for about 8 years now. My license is currently hung at Real Broker. And in my single best year, I did $332,000 in real estate commissions while working less than 10 hours a week without a team, all by using automation and software. And now I help realtors automate their business so they too can do less and close more. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the top 10 real estate lead generation strategies for 2024 and go over them. Coming in at number 10 is postcard farming. Now, honestly, this is something I haven't done a ton of, but I did do it for quite a bit. And all I can say is it's incredibly expensive. It takes a very long time to get results from, and you got to be really creative when setting it up, creating your postcards and creating your funnel. And ultimately, it's not something I think is really worth it. Now, it is a good way to potentially automate your business, assuming you set it up right, because basically people are just calling you, say, come list me, which is really, really cool. Although there are much cheaper, easier ways to get those type of appointments that don't involve sending people a $1 piece of mail 20 times. Honestly, I would actually love to rank postcard farming much higher. It's just incredibly expensive, which is why it takes the bottom spot in this rank. Number 9 is open houses. Now, here's the thing. Open houses, I don't like them because you're basically sitting around praying, hoping someone will come to your open house. Now, can you do things to help increase the show up rate? Of course, right? We could put out 1,000 open house signs. You can run Facebook ads. You can do some live streams. If you're going to do an open house, you should probably do a live stream while you're there, or at a minimum, make content while you're there. However, it's my belief that it's a massive waste of time. I think there are much more effective ways to generate really high quality leads than sitting around in an open house hoping and praying all day for people to show up. Number 8 on our list is going to be door knocking. Now, let's be real. Door knocking is kind of like cold calling, except it just takes way longer and you can't talk to as many people. Now, it is slightly more effective than cold calling, in my personal opinion, because when you're seeing someone face to face, it is significantly easier to sell them on your real estate services than if you were to be cold calling them. Kind of like how cold calling is better than cold texting. You're just going to get a better result when people can see you and you're having that face-to-face conversation. But like I said, it just takes way too long. You don't really know who you're talking to. It could be tenants. It could be people that just bought the house. And while it is relatively effective, it's rather inefficient. You can kind of start to see a theme here between our bottom ranked is that they're rather inefficient, either with time or money. They're inefficient ways of generating leads. Do they work? Yes. It's just that there are better ways, at least in my opinion. But that said, that doesn't mean you can't get result doing them. Number 7 is going to be circle prospecting. This, of course, falls into the cold calling category, although you can do circle prospecting other ways. Obviously, you could do direct mail with circle prospecting. You could do door knocking with circle prospecting. You could do cold email and cold text. Actually, don't do cold text. You will probably get in trouble for that. But generally, when people talk about circle prospecting, they're usually referring to cold calling, which, let's be honest, does work, but it's not at all fun. In fact, it's rather life-sucking. In fact, even these coaches who are teaching you how to circle prospect and cold call, I mean, I have a ton of respect for them, and I've did it. Like, I've cold called at least 50,000 people. I did the math. I think I said on a different podcast, I wasn't sure how many I cold called. At least $50,000. It's probably closer to 60,000, but we'll just say 50,000 dials. I've gotten a ton of deals, a ton of sales from cold calling. Like, it definitely works, but it sucks the life out of you. And you notice how these coaches who are teaching cold calling, they're not cold calling anymore. And that's because while it does work, it drains the life out of you. And maybe you can do it for a couple of years, but after that, like, you're going to want to quit. Like, there's nothing you're going to hate more than cold calling after a few years of doing it. Plus, when you're circle prospecting, you're basically calling people you know nothing about. You're just trying to build a relationship with them because it's the relationship game, right? The problem is you don't know if they're ready to buy or not. So it might be 6 months to 12 months before you start getting listings. Sure, you might get lucky every now and then, but these are a lot of seeds that you have to plant into. But for the most part, it's going to be, again, 6 to 12 months before you start getting listing appointments from this strategy. And if you need a deal in the next 30 days, circle prospecting is probably not the best way to do it unless you have time and you don't mind putting up with cold calling people. Now, if you need a deal in the next 30 days and you don't mind cold calling, then number 6 might interest you more. And that's going to be cold calling for sale by owners and expireds. These should really be their own separate category, but everyone that cold calls for sale by owners or expireds, they usually do both. Although I would choose to focus on one if I were you. However, not everyone's market allows you enough opportunities to just call expireds or just call for sale by owners. If you were to call these leads, you're probably going to get a deal rather quickly. So if you need a deal in the next 30 days, this is probably going to be the fastest way to get a deal in the next 30 days, especially if you don't have a lot of experience. But like I said, with cold calling in general, it becomes unbearable in time. Like it took me about, I think, 8 months before I just could not call anyone anymore. And then it was probably another year or so before I just finally just quit cold calling. Like it was unbearable. It was so hard. I could not do it anymore. Like I was on the verge of quitting everything. And like I got to the point where like I was almost throwing up. Now, could I cold call today? Absolutely. I know I could pick up the phone and make sales. It's just not something I want to do anymore. So like for me, if you need a deal in a pinch, cold call, right? But like it's not a really long-term strategy. At least in my opinion, it's not a long-term strategy. Next up is going to be Facebook list of home ads. These are incredibly popular right now. You probably see a lot of these from like these Facebook gurus or these ad companies. You see them all the time where they're like, we guarantee you like 20 booked appointments or you don't pay, some scam like that, right? Usually a lot of these people don't really know what they're doing. They're just trying to make a quick buck on realtors because they think they know what they're doing. That said, this could also be a really, really effective strategy. Now, if I'm going to assume you're doing it yourself instead of hiring one of these companies, although there are good companies out there, like not all of them are scammers, just so you know. I don't have any referrals or recommendations, but there are some good companies out there. Just most of them are 22-year-old kids who bought a course on how to get rich fast and they're trying to sell something to realtors. That's what most of these people are. However, this strategy can be very effective, and it's only effective if you have a good ad strategy and a really good funnel system. Now, the way Facebook list of home ads work is generally the best way to run these is you say, hey, I have an exclusive list of homes in the Denver area under $500,000. I don't know what the prices are in Denver, but I'm just saying, right? I have an exclusive list of downsizing homes. So maybe you're trying to target sellers who are wanting to downsize. That way you can double in the listing. You can get a buyer lead and a seller lead. And you say, hey, look, in the downside, you're basically trying to offer something of value for someone's email. Now, I don't generally think these are the best way to generate leads. I think there are better ways to generate leads from Facebook. This is just a really, really popular strategy that you see everywhere that's actually relatively easy to set up. Then once you generate the lead, you want to run them through a funnel. Now, the way all these agencies run these leads through these funnels is what they do is they have them fill out a survey. So like, what areas are you looking in? How many bedrooms? How many baths? What's your price range? What's your credit score? See, they're trying to qualify them. Have you spoken to a lender? Would you like to talk to a realtor? And if they say yes, I'd say maybe 10% of them will say yes when they ask this question on this form. They'll be taken to a calendar booking page where the funnel will then attempt to get the client to book an appointment to talk to a realtor, which can be effective. But if it costs you $10 to generate a lead and only 10% of people are booking an appointment, that means you spent $100 to get one phone call appointment. So it can get really expensive, which in the grand scheme of like Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads, it's actually not that expensive. That's actually pretty cheap, all considering some of these more expensive lead generation platforms. But it can be a good strategy, especially if you have a really good follow-up sequence in place, whether that's automated or you personally reaching out to people. No matter what you do, I would recommend using a lot of videos in your follow-up. It actually can be a really good strategy for generating leads if you have a really strong and good proven strategy and system in place. It's not always the easiest to get set up, and that's why you see so many people pushing cold calling and things like that, because it's generally an easier thing to set up and get immediate results with, whereas like the Facebook list of home ad strategy, it's a little bit more technical and you really have to understand sales and marketing and things like that for it to work properly, but it can be incredibly effective. Also, just a side note, if you were doing this strategy, I would recommend spending at least $100 a day on ads, which is about $3,000 a month. The biggest reason you don't see a lot of people having success with these type of ad strategies is they're usually just not spending enough money on ads. Oh, and you need to commit to it for at least 6 months before you can make a decision on whether to keep moving, because things take time, right? You got to learn these systems. So is it the best thing to do if you have no money? Absolutely not. But if you have marketing skills, you know how technology and funnels work, and you got a bit of cash to spare, this would be a really good strategy that you might want to consider. Next up is pay-per-click leads or PPC leads. These are generally very similar to Facebook, except instead of being interrupted on Facebook Facebook because Facebook's advertising platform is an interruption platform. You have Google PPC leads, which is where people are intentionally searching out for homes in Florida or homes in Bellingham or homes in Seattle, right? So there's a lot more higher intent now. So you can generally get some more higher quality leads. You will probably get more booked appointments, again, using the Facebook funnel strategy that we just talked about. However, the cost can be significantly more, and the Google Ads platform can be a little bit more confusing and not quite as user-friendly, at least in my opinion, at least at the time of uploading this video. I will say it's, even though it's our number 4 spot, I would say it's closer to a Facebook lead strategy, though the leads are probably going to be slightly higher quality, though they will be more expensive. Number 3 is going to be property tour request referral website. So this is going to be like your Zillow and your Realtor.com, places like that. Generally, they're relatively the same in regards to lead quality. Despite what people might think, I've never seen Zillow share leads with anyone. It's always been exclusive leads. I might be wrong on that. I've just have never seen it. I've spent probably $100,000 with Zillow and I've made a ton of money using Zillow. It's definitely been one of my favorite platforms, but all the leads I've gotten from Zillow have always been exclusive. Like they're not sharing with them anyone. And that might not be for everyone, but at least for me in my situation, that was the case. Realtor.com is not available in my area anymore because they do Opcity, but it is still available in a lot of places. I've had really good success with them as well. Yes, the leads are expensive with these companies. However, if you're going to be going with one of these companies, I would choose a less popular zip code in exchange for more leads. And again, I would follow the $100 a day rule for something like this. So again, $3,000 a month, which is really, really expensive. And you got to commit at least 6 months, like minimum commit 6 months. I'm not talking about signing a contract with them. I'm just saying you need to commit for 6 months before you can determine whether or not before these lead generation systems work. Now, I know they're expensive and everyone hates Zillow and blah, 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 blah. Look, I'm just here to make money and I made a ton of money with Zillow by buying their leads. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting what worked well for me. That said, I would 100% avoid Homes.com, by far the worst platform out there. They took all my money and gave me 2 fake leads and I signed like a year contract with them. Awful, awful, awful company. They even run fake ads on my YouTube page pretending to be me to sell my leads to me. So honestly, horrible platform. Avoid Homes.com. I don't know if I'm allowed to smear them like that, but like they're awful. I've had a terrible experience with them. Do not work with them unless you want to light your money on fire. The second best way to generate real estate leads is going to be webinar events. Now, this is one of my favorite ways to generate leads because you can do this big, valuable webinar for people. And honestly, you can repeat the webinar like every week or every month or however often you want to. Give really, really good information, give really good advice, build this trust and relationship with people. It's kind of like doing like a live in-person event, which I used to do like live in-person classes. Obviously, webinars are a lot better because you get more people to show up, but you can always do a call to action at the end for people to go to your website and book an appointment with you to see if they want to work with you. And honestly, this is a great way to get some high quality leads that actually want to work with you. So like you're not chasing them, you're not begging them. Even like the Zillow and Realtor.com strategy, like I said, I made a ton of money working with those leads, but I was constantly proving myself like, hey, you should let me be your realtor. Hey, you should work with me. Here, sign this buyer agency agreement. Like forcing people and begging people and chasing people to work with me. It was kind of a pain in the butt, though it did work. Webinars, people are going to be attracted to you. They're going to want to come and work with you because you've built up trust with them and they know you and they like you because you did this big event where you gave them a ton of really great information, answered a lot of their questions and really helped them out. And now in their eyes, you are the local expert. And of course, they're going to want to work with you. Now, the biggest problem with webinar events, you're going to need leads. So if you already have a big database, of course, just invite your database once every couple of months to this webinar event and then get all your appointments and yada, yada, yada. It's a great way to get leads that you already have. However, if you don't have leads, you're going to need to buy them. Now, you can run Facebook ads like, hey, we're doing a home buyer class or a how to sell your house for more money without renovating class. Like you can do these webinars, but you're probably going to want to run ads or at the very least get some sort of affiliate partners who are willing to refer people to you. Maybe your lenders can recommend and refer their entire database to you for this event. And then obviously you just partner with a lender to send them back all the people that schedule a consultation to work with you. Regardless, you can get really creative on generating leads that don't always involve having to buy them. But with that said, my number one favorite way to generate real estate leads is going to be content creation, specifically YouTube. Now, YouTube is my favorite platform. I am always binge watching content, which I'd probably make a lot more money if I wasn't watching YouTube all day. However, when I do create content on YouTube, I always just make a killing, whether it's on The Lazy Agent or in my personal real estate business where I get home buyer buyers and home sellers who are calling me and practically begging to work with me because they feel like they're talking to someone on HGTV and they think you're some celebrity, even though you only have like 300 YouTube subscribers. It's honestly really, really cool. And they are by far the best types of leads to work with. Now, one of the biggest cons of content creation is it takes a little bit of time and practice to get good at making content. Now, I know you're thinking, but Tommy, you still suck at making content. I know I do, okay? But I'm getting better every single day, and so can you. The first videos I made were the absolute worst, but they've gotten better and better every single day since then. So if you're going to do the content strategy, know it's okay to not be the most amazing content creator in the world. That's totally fine. Just start doing it consistently. Now, I don't really care what platform you use. I think YouTube is personally the best. However, you can post and create content for multiple platforms. Just make sure you're studying those platforms, studying what type of content does well, and really make sure you're making content for your ideal avatar. For example, if you are making content for sellers who are downsizing, don't be making first-time homebuyer content. Make content about how to sell your house for more money while buying your next home, stuff like that, right? So really make sure you understand who your avatar is and then make valuable content for them. That's probably the biggest place where I see realtors mess up is they're making content, they're just not making the right type of content. So be really, really mindful about that. Also, another fair note is it can take a little bit while. So kind of like some of these other lead generation strategies, actually almost all lead generation strategies take some time. There's a warm-up period. You're not very good at these things, so you're learning, right? But you do get better in time. Obviously, with content, you got to build up a following. Never pay to have like your content boosted, by the way. Like that's the surefire way to like ruin your algorithm and like not get be viewed anywhere. You'll get views for like the paid views, but you're not going to get like organic views, which are the types of views you want. But despite all these cons, content creation is by far the best way to generate real estate leads, at least in my opinion. Now, here's the deal. If you know anyone that is struggling to generate leads or pick a lead generation strategy, I would love if you'd be willing to share this podcast with them. Yes, I'm asking for referrals by you sharing this podcast with people. It would mean a lot to me. Also, you can follow us anywhere on all the social media platforms. I try to post everywhere. So if you want to follow us anywhere, I'm sure you can find us at The Lazy Agent. But with that said, my name is Tommy Mutchler, your lazy agent, and I will see you in the next one.